doing Ask the Experts today, and we're going to be talking digital decorating.
Indeed.
So all things digital decorating. We've got great experts here lined up for us. So why don't we start there? Let's just got the mic in your hand, so you get to start. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Make sure you talk into the mic, please.
Okay, my name is Brett Murray. I'm with Caesar North America. I've been in the industry for roughly 8 years now. We manufacture heat transfer vinyl. However, being in the industry this long, you definitely see all different types of technology, and we definitely support all the different types of technology as well.
Cool. I pass that along there.
How you doing? My name is Matt Vassallo, owner of the Rhinestone World. Started as a high school teacher, as my wife and I kind of grew a business together, and then came over to this side of the industry to hopefully help educate all of you guys and teach you some different things as far as mistakes that you might make that hopefully I can save you some money on.
Okay, I'm Jenna from Stalls. I started 5 years ago in the industry and completely fell in love with it. Stalls is mostly known for our heat presses and our print technology with those heat presses, anything from heat transfer vinyl to custom transfers such as twills and screen printing.
Awesome. Okay, well, let me start off with a question, and this is a sublimation question. And here's what I hear still all the time. Now that you can sublimate on cotton, I want to buy a sublimation machine. What are you guys' comments on sublimating on cotton?
I've never particularly sublimated on cotton. The only time cotton has ever worked with sublimation for me is if it was a 50-50 blend. And even at that point, the direct inks of sublimation adhering to that would kind of wash out a little bit because there was only a little bit of polyester in that substrate.
Right.
So as far as sublimating, it's definitely continuing to trend in the industry and it's growing significantly. But I want to say sublimation, I think, is just best for 100% polyester, exactly. Although I do find that some people are successfully able to do that with like a transfer paper and whatnot. Exactly.
Do you guys have a comment about that?
Similar type thing that Jenna said. What I see a lot, obviously, if you can go on to more garments, obviously better for you guys, but just the multi-decoration that I see with the sublimation, if you're allowed to put it on different now and you can accent it with rhinestones, with glitters, with all of your different materials out there. One thing that you'll see that we do and try to do a lot in videos and share with you guys is instead of just doing something basic like a sublimation, accenting and upselling it to increase your margins and obviously add rhinestones, add glitters. So it's that multimedia mix between materials.
Yeah, so sublimation is a fantastic technology. It provides some of the best durability on garments and some of the best looks. One of the drawbacks is you're limited to the types of garments you're using, and to support what Jenna and Matt had said, a lot of times it's polyester and even more specifically white or light polyester. There's a few different technologies out there that allow you to kind of expand those ranges. There's the Chromoblast product. There's a spray that you can spray onto your cotton shirt, and that gives you that kind of gives you a coating to where now you can sublimate onto cotton. However, that only works on lighter color fabrics such as gray and charcoal, ash, things of that nature. Just recently, as of maybe 4 months ago, Caesar developed a product called Easy Subli. That is a product that does allow users to put sublimation ink onto dark cotton fabrics. It's kind of a industry-breaking product. It's very unique, and we've got some samples going on in the booths that I'd be happy to show you guys if you have any questions on that as well. This particular product, it's still the technology of sublimation, but there's still a vinyl as a medium between the cotton and the ink. So the technology, the definition of sublimation can be debatable, and maybe Terry or Aaron can define that better. but the inks are still turning into a gas, right? So
Exactly.
in my world, it's still defined as sublimation, even though it's a little different than your traditional process.
I think the part of that question was a little bit of a zinger because so many people will say, well, now that you can sublimate on cotton, and the response is always, you really can't. It's not really sublimation. So, but let me do this. Let me change mics with you real quick. And we're going to allow you guys to pass that one back and forth. Aaron, are there any questions out there in the audience? Anybody have questions for our experts on digital decorating? I see some TRW shirts here in the front row.
Well,
the posse.
yeah. So go ahead, and if you guys do have questions, go ahead and just raise a hand, and I'll run out there and stuff like that. But another question that I've got for you guys, let's change off of sublimation as a topic. But I want to know what kind of trends you guys are seeing in your worlds. You know, we've got lots of things covered. You know, we've got lots of vinyl, lots of opportunities, bling, rhinestones, all of that world. What's hot in 2020 right now?
Still what's hot in my world is I see a lot of the high density screen printing, kind of that silicone look. It's raised textured vinyl. What we call in our version is brick 600. It's 600 microns thick. It kind of gives you a little bit of dimension to your shirt. I find that product works very well on hats, shoes, and things of that nature, where you want to add a little bit of dimension. You know, traditionally speaking, on a garment, we always want vinyl to be thinner, stretchier, lighter weight. But there's often times now where you want a little bit of that raised look. And there's solutions to that in the marketplace, and it's a hot trend that traditionally speaking was for high-end screen printers, and now it's available for more of your standard decorator.
That's actually exactly where I was going to go. Same thing Brett said there.
Sorry.
And those of you who know me and on the live, you know my favorite materials. I always like to do something different other than your standard easy weeds or your standard vinyls or your standard screen print. I like, even on my shirt now, I like the tone on tone. And then I have the brick here with the tone on tone. Some people will say, hey, it's kind of hard to read that. I look at it the other way and say, hey, it's kind of difficult to read, which makes them pay even more attention to it to see what it is. And then they want to feel it. And it's same thing with all of your hats. If you go around looking Dick's Sporting Goods and all of these places now online, it's rare that a lot of these hats, as far as the shirts as well, that you're seeing embroidery on it right now. You're seeing a lot of this type of raised, the brick material or the thicker material. For them, it's a lot quicker for them to do it, right? They don't have to hoop it. They don't have to. And then as far as for the embroidery side, I'm starting to get into some stuff with that now, starting with the most difficult thing probably, and trying to do 3D puff hats. So I skipped all the easy stuff. But again, something that's different, that's out there, reflective brick, almost everything I wear. Because just an example, I was in Starbucks the other day doing some work, and I had a shirt on that had reflective on it. And I probably had 10 different people. I had no clue. They didn't know me. They didn't know what I did. But my shirt stood out to them so much because they would hit different angles of the light or lights in Starbucks that it made the shirt pop to them. And they said, hey, what is that shirt made of? What is that material? And anytime they do that, I know a guy that can do it, right? But it's just a cool thing to do something different than every shirt that you see out there. And that's why I always try to do the multimedia stuff, whether it's glitter and stones, brick and rhinestone, anything that is different that I haven't seen, I try to do. And a lot of times we'll test it out, see how the washability is, see if it's going to work. And then once it does, we say, hey, guys, this is pretty awesome. Try it.
Okay, so to leave the trends in finishes side of it, where I really pull a lot of the trends that are going on in this industry is first, I look at the blank apparel, because that is going to be the start of what is trending. All right. Anything from corporate wear to just fashion wear in general, we're starting to see a lot more heat sensitive items, things that are incorporating a lot more polyester, tri-blends that are incorporating rayon and modal. And the reason that the apparel industry is trending that way is because we're seeing it already in retail, and we want to be able to recreate that for our customers so that they can get something similar like that. So I start with the apparel and what's trending there. And then I think, okay, how can I heat apply this and build the value in that blank piece even more? And that's really where the heat print technology comes into play, because these guys mentioned it. Dimension is trending. A lot of those mixed media finishes and special effects that really make a garment pop. We also need to make sure that they are going to be accurately applied without scorching those garments. So a lot of the low temp solutions are trending significantly because of those trends in apparel. So I would say, for me, one of the print methods that has been trending nonstop is our stretch litho mat, because you can get anywhere from single color to multicolor. You don't have to pay for all the colors in those designs. It applies at a nice low temperature, and you can get any amount of detail in those products. So to me, I think when you consider trends, you need to think about the blank apparel and then consider what type of transfer is going to build the value in that garment even more.
You know, and speaking of those types of garments, I'd like Matt and Brett to comment as well about the garments, 100% synthetic fabrics, screen printers. You know, you have to use low temperature inks, that sort of thing. Talk to us a little bit about print or decorating those low temperature type items.
Okay, so yeah, I can start. So anytime that I know that there's going to be synthetic fabrics within that substrate, I make sure that I'm going to be at 300 degrees and lower anytime with my heat press. Now, I can't speak to the screen printing. That's a little bit of beyond my wheelhouse here, but if I'm going to be doing single color, premium plus all the way, it has a 4-way stretch, so it can apply to those poly spandex blends that stretch, and it's not going to crack, and it's going to move with the garment. So anything that is low temp already. And then we have been very innovative with the heat print technology and providing a solution for those garments that scorch. And that is heat applying from underneath the fabric. So Hotronix is great when it comes to being innovative in the heat press world. And they've produced platens that go with those heat presses that adhere the adhesive from underneath the garment. So essentially what's happening is we are scorching the inside of the garment, but no one cares because you can't see that part, right? So we're able to save the front part of the garment and not compromise the garment by being able to achieve a really nice finish. So not only low temp materials, but if you want to use those high temp materials, just use it on a power platen so that it's heating from underneath as opposed to all the heat on top.
And I think similar to what Jenna's saying, so we're all going to basically have a very similar answer. So we're not just repeating the same thing. I think similar to what Jenna was saying is something that's very important that a lot of people don't think about is your actual heat press. And there are, I mean, when my wife and I started our business, we got the heat press that we could afford. All right. Being high school teachers, we couldn't afford a really nice heat press at the time. But we ran through those problems of having a cheap press that you grab on Amazon for $200 or whatever it is, because you got to be pretty precise with this pressing on some of these different materials. And you might have one corner that's at 300 degrees, another one that's at 260, another one that's at 340. So when you're pressing these different materials, I always say, and you'll always hear me say, a cutter is a cutter. Are there better cutters out there? There are, but probably your most important piece of equipment is your heat press. So depending on what type of material you're doing, I don't know anybody, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, anybody here that's ever had a customer ask you, what type of cutter did you cut with? And not buy a shirt because you cut with a Silhouette Cameo versus a Graph Tech, right?
Right.
But if they washed their shirt 2 or 3 times and your temperature was only getting to 260 degrees here, 300 here, 340 here, it starts peeling in this corner, I can guarantee you lost a customer for life. So that's the biggest thing I always try to stress is we could have said the exact same answer when it comes to pressing, but very important piece, and what I think is your most important piece of equipment is a quality heat press, whichever one that is. But so you have that even heat distribution, because if you don't have that, no matter how great you press it or time, temperature, pressure, everything, you aren't going to get that even distribution of the temperature, pressure, and everything.
You know, along those lines as well. And you know, we talk to customers all the time, and I'll have somebody say that the vinyl is it's starting to peel in the same spot on every shirt. And my question then is, well, what kind of heat press do you have? It's orange. It's an orange heat press. No name on it? No. There's
Always
no name
by
on
the
it.
color,
Let me guess. You paid $295 for it, right? So we do get on the soapbox and say, make sure you get a good quality heat press. And 20 years from now, you're still using that same heat press.
Yep,
So
yep.
I'll let you go ahead and answer.
Yeah,
Brett.
you certainly get what you pay for when it comes to equipment. So I can't stress that enough. To agree with everybody regarding the trends, polyester is trending up. It can be some of the more difficult or temperature sensitive fabrics out there compared to others. One thing I want to stress in regards to tips and tricks on polyester is not all polyester is created equal, right? Cotton is cotton. It's an organic fiber. They all kind of react the same way. We may see a backpack, we may see a rain jacket, and we may see an athletic shirt that all read 100% polyester rather on the tag, right? And they are completely different types of material, right? So I cannot stress enough testing on polyester before going into full production, because not all polyester is the same. Many of them are treated with a coating, and that's a whole nother animal to get past those coatings. But to determine if it has a coating or not, testing is required. And furthermore, you may have 10 shirts of the same color, the same brand, the same size, the same manufacturer, and one shirt may react differently than the other. There's still a lack of consistency, in my opinion, on the manufacturing of polyester garments. So I often get a call, this shirt scorched at 300 degrees, this one didn't. And, trying to determine where the problem was. Was it my heat press? Am I doing something different? And the reality is that the dye in that shirt wasn't treated properly on one of them, and it was on the other one, right? So it's very important to treat polyester with caution in that regard.
So when each of you get that phone call troubleshooting, is your first question, what are you printing on? What are you decorating?
Absolutely, yes. Determining the fabric that they're printing on is generally the first question I have with any kind of failure. If it's scorching or things falling off, that's the first question I'll ask. I'm
gonna guess that you guys are all nodding in agreement here. Aaron, do we have any questions from the audience yet?
Anybody have any questions out there in the audience? It's burning questions. You guys have 3 experts here that are ready and willing. In fact, we've got another expert running in as well. So we'll give him an opportunity to.
I'm not sure if it's still live or not.
Okay, yeah, it is still live. So if you guys have questions here, I've got a few coming in here. But let's introduce Joseph here, Joseph Erich, and just tell us a little bit about yourself real quick.
Joseph Erich. I'm a Scorpio. I like long walks on the beach. Work for Oki White Toner Printer with Magic Touch paper. One step, self-weeding, self-cutting. Just a different type of formula and brand. Print on any color shirt, any material, non-coated materials as well.
Okay, great. So welcome. Thank you for coming on over. So we do a few questions. We're going to get to those in a second, but I've got one more. Because it is the 2 regular guys, so we get to choose what questions go with. Yeah,
a regular guy.
So I want to know. We talked about trends a little bit here, and you guys can all answer this. We don't have to go in order. If somebody wants to grab it or whatever. But what are some tips for keeping up with the trends? I mean, is it just going to the mall, or how do you keep up with the trends?
A lot of research.
A lot of research. All right.
So
because you just did a presentation on this morning.
I did, yeah, this morning. It was a hit, so everything turned out really well. But I start even from New York Fashion Week to what Bella Canvas came out with last week, and everything in between. That's how I keep up with the trends, like what's popular in retail, what maybe some of our customers that are doing really well in a specific market, what they're offering that I can try to teach mom and pop shops to start introducing and integrating with their design efforts and things like that. But from a customer standpoint, really staying up to date on trend reports, because Impressions and Printwear Magazine, they're constantly keeping that stuff updated and taking articles from people that are doing the same research I am. So really just diving into market specific trends and then even niche trends and incorporating that with just a heat press.
So I know it sounds silly, but social media aspect, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, it's huge right now. So I saw last year trends, wine tumblers, bamboo cutting boards. I saw that everywhere. And then I put that on my booth. And the one thing that customers always stop and see are the tumblers and the bamboo cutting boards. If you something as simple as Facebook and trending and what's hot and what's not, it honestly will help your business of what you can add on so that the customer can see.
Yeah, similar. I'm perfect right now because I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. So they let me know. But one of the things I learned when we were starting our business and my wife and I were growing our business, being in your seat, is when I started, I always used to think of the things that I liked. And I thought those were the good things and the things that people would buy, versus listening to our customers and seeing and finding out and doing the research like they were saying and finding out what's trending now. And it's crazy. There's so much information out there now that you can get. You got to do some work to get it. But like Jenna was saying, with impressions and everything else, that you can get all this information's out there. Now it's a matter of if something's working for you right now, chances are that same thing isn't going to be working 2 months from now, 4 months. You always have to be growing. You always have to be changing, because all the other companies are. So now it's a matter if you're keeping up with something trendy right now and you get on it while it's hot. 3 months from now, that might be dead and it's moved on to something else, and you're wondering where your sales went.
Yeah, and to segue on that, one of the most amazing parts about this industry is anybody in this show has the opportunity to create a new trend, right? The power of social media and the way that things go viral so fast, and the imagination and creativity that people have in this room, it only takes one post that can get shared thousands of times, and the next thing you know, it's a trend, right? And I think that's one of the best things about this industry.
Yeah, and since we're sitting here talking about digital decorating, that gives you that additional opportunity that you can create that trend, like you said.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it's digital, we can make one, and and see how that goes. We don't have to go invest in thousands to be able to do that. So great stuff.
It's definitely a low risk, high reward in that regard.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. So I've got a question from one of the viewers here. Todd Downing asked, how many washes is HTV good for?
That's the question I get asked 50 times a day. I think it's a very objective question. Of course, it depends on how the garment's washed. We can put as many pre-warnings as we want, but once we sell it to our customer, it's out of your hands, right?
Yeah.
Do I follow the care instructions on my own clothing? Absolutely not. I'm sure most people here don't, right?
Exactly.
So it's a gray area question. I confidently tell all of my customers and all of my clients, you should expect no less than 50 washes. That's the number I stick by.
And 50 washings, it's in the industry considered a permanent print. So.
All right. So this is a loaded question because you have to be following those application instructions to a T to get the 50 washes as the minimum.
My orange heat press is not going to do it.
No. So back to that, even you have to have a quality heat press, first of all, no cold spots, but then you need to make sure you have the time accurate, the temperature accurate, and always the pressure as well. So there are a few different presses out there in the industry that don't even give you a pressure readout, and you're guessing based off of how hard it is to lock down. All right. But having a quality heat press that gives you that pressure readout and you're able to follow those instructions to a T, that's going to give you the longest wash cycles.
Like she said with the heat press, if your shipping costs more than your heat press, probably not a good thing to use. Okay. So usually with vinyl, as long as you follow the instructions, you're going to get a minimum of 40 to 50 washes and dries. That's normal trend of our vinyl, and same with the stalls as well. So.
And similar, when I was starting, like I'm sure some of you have done, I always thought whenever I had issues, I thought the harder I pressed it, the longer I pressed it, and the more temperature, the better it was going to stick. That's a bad idea. Okay. But that was me when I was starting. And I just thought, I was standing on top of this damn heat press trying to press it down just to make sure it stuck on there really good. And obviously it's doing the opposite and making it a lot worse. Right. So that's what they do. So just follow those recommended time, temperatures, and settings, and it's going to stay. But again, like everybody said, a quality heat press is going to be the key to that.
And do wash testing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to piggyback on that too, screen printing and other technologies, when those wash, we've all worn screen printed shirts. It's the most common decoration method, right? They distress and they deteriorate slowly over time, right? And some would argue that's more of an acceptable look than the failures of other technology. The question was specifically heat transfer vinyl. What's great about heat transfer vinyl is it doesn't slowly deteriorate over time, right? If done correctly, if we follow the time, temperature, pressure, if we have a quality heat press, it should look the exact same 20 washes in as it did after the first wash.
Excellent. All right. So next question off here, unless you guys in the audience have come up with anything yet. Okay. You guys get priority, just so you know.
Everything's working perfectly in your shops, right?
Everything's perfect. Nothing's wrong. Man, they're just here and their shops are just burning money right now, just cranking it out. All right. All right. So next question that we've got here, on average, here we go. On average, when do you suggest is a good cutoff number for HTV, then moving to screen print?
That is a tricky question. I'll make a quick comment here and I'll pass it on to down here. It depends on the garment itself. First of all, there's certain effects and looks that you can get with heat transfer vinyl that you cannot get in screen printing, right? So glitter and holographic and things of that nature, you only have one option. If it's a 1 or 2, 3 color shirt, I would say 15 to 20 is kind of the cutoff to where vinyl makes more sense than screen printing. However, with screen printing, like I said, you're limited to that matte look, and if that's what your customer wants, then that's acceptable.
Basically, did the numbers already for screen printing to what's the cost effectiveness over a certain amount of shirts, certain colors. For us, it's 18 shirts, 2 color process, screen print, anything under that, you want to use HTV.
Yeah, so a lot into that. Not only does quantity matter, but also the amount of color. So screen printing, you do have to be cautious of how many colors are in that because you are charged based off of how many colors are in that product or in that design or graphic. All right, so heat transfer vinyl, whether it be single color and you're applying 3 colors for that design, or if you're just doing a printed heat transfer vinyl, that would be another good option. But like you said, the higher quantity for a screen print is going to put you into a good price point and when it makes the most sense to do a screen print.
Excellent. All right. So the next question, Terry, is for you and I. Ranch or blue cheese?
Blue cheese, of course.
When you guys eat your chicken wings, ranch or blue cheese?
Blue cheese.
Ranch.
Yeah, Jenna likes
Ranch.
Ranch is an abomination.
All right, off topic there.
It's the only thing that Aaron and I ever really argue about is blue cheese and ranch.
All right, let's see here.
As you note, our logo is a chicken wing and a microphone, so it all started over chicken wings.
Yep, definitely. Okay, how about dye migration? Tips to prevent it.
We touched base on this a little bit earlier. Cotton, first of all, you're not going to have a problem. Cotton's bulletproof in that regard. Polyester, the higher the polyester content, the more chances of dye migration. I know we touched base on this. We all did a little bit earlier. The lower the temperature, the less of a chance of dye migration. But I cannot stress enough more that all polyesters are not created equal, as I mentioned earlier, right? So a garment A may migrate at X temperature and garment B may migrate at Y temperature.
So there are 2 different dyes you really need to be concerned with. Obvious is the sublimation dye, and then there is just garment dye in general, which is similar to, how you tie dye a shirt, those types of dyes. Those will migrate once you reach a certain temperature, all right, 280 degrees plus. Those gases are going to start migrating through whatever transfer you start applying that at. So whenever those start to migrate, you'll probably notice it, and it's most commonly seen whenever you're applying a white ink or heat transfer vinyl onto a red garment, all right? And with that, those letters start turning pink. All right, so that is like the telltale sign and most common of whenever you are experiencing dye migration. To avoid that, you can get dye inhibiting heat transfer vinyl or dye blocking transfers in general. All right, so there's a variety out there, and there's even some that naturally block dyes, and a lot of those are the special effect heat transfer vinyls, such as reflectives, metallics, and any thicker products such as like a silicone. All right, those naturally just start to block those inks from making it all the way through and transferring and changing those colors. So again, two different types of inks you want to be concerned with. It's garment dyed inks and also sublimation.
There's also vinyl out there called Subblock. If you're doing polyester, you can use that vinyl. It blocks the dye migration. But we always tell our customers 255. Hit it about 255 to 270 to stop the dye migration from happening. So usually those are the troubleshooting and hints that we give to our customers.
And to the real world scenario of this is, again, I did some football uniforms in my early days. Thought I would save a little bit of money because the sub block and the different ones may be a little bit more expensive. What's more expensive is redoing an entire job because all the numbers are pink. Okay. So that's what they do. They're great at making these materials, and they've done a lot of research and development on these things. So take advantage of them because it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of money in the long run. Even though that material might cost a little bit more up front, your overall cost on it and time involved is going to be, I went through all of those. So believe me, it's true.
Dye migration too, it can be a head scratcher at times because it doesn't happen immediate. You may decorate a shirt, it leaves your facility, it looks fantastic. 4 days later, you get a call. Why is my white vinyl pink on the red shirt? It happens over time. It's not an immediate thing. So if you have any worries about that dye migration, take extra caution beforehand so that you have confidence that it's not, that you're not going to get a phone call 4 days, 5 days later about that problem.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right. So, okay, we're gonna change gears just a hair here, the technical stuff that we've been covering. Got some more questions. So the next question is, what's the number one piece of advice you give a brand new startup in the digital decorating space?
Do not be afraid to invest in quality equipment.
Yeah, just only one though. You can only do one.
Only one. If it's one, 100% it's social media. I'm not sitting up here today or have a business without YouTube.
Do your research before you go in and invest in one type of equipment that you think is going to be game changing for your business. Take the education classes, read up on all of the information you can on the different types of equipment that you're considering, because there may be one that's the better road for you to take as opposed to something that could be a really high investment.
Learn. I mean, any piece of equipment you have, do all the research on it, pros and cons. There's not one machine in here that does everything 100% foolproof. There's always pros and cons to every machine you get. Learn the pros, learn the cons, learn what you can do and what you can't do.
Yeah. Excellent. Wonderful answers. Good job. Give yourselves a round of applause. All right. Any questions from the audience there? Yes. Thank you. Very nice. What questions you guys have out here? Or are we going to keep going here? Come on, you guys, bring it. I'll even ask the question. You can whisper in my ear if you have to. All right.
That wasn't my question.
I can just make it. All right.
I have a question. Talk about what customer, maybe a customer you have that has a very unique application to what you're doing.
I had met a guy one time. He created a niche market. He was customizing high-end boats and yachts with heat transfer vinyl. He started doing it with a home iron. We know these are very expensive applications, so he was charging thousands and thousands of dollars. When one of the boat owners noticed he had his Honeydew home iron, called him out, and it became a confrontational conflict. So he became creative. He took his iron apart, made it look like all kind of funny, added gadgets. so he could avoid that. It made it look like he had some kind of special piece of equipment that only he can do this application. And I thought that was a very creative and innovative, unique idea.
I love it.
Still thinking.
Okay. The only one that really came to mind was the gentleman I met last year at the Printing United show. And he was asking what product we had that could be cut in very fine detail, because he was customizing and printing nose covers that would attach to glasses. So when people were outside, like at the beach and the sun was really hot, their nose wouldn't get burnt. So he was making these little nose covers that attach to glasses, and he was sublimating them with different images and then customizing them with heat transfer vinyl. So that was really cool.
I love it.
I see so many different unique things that people are using with the different products, but probably one of the coolest ones that I see that someone that's making and built a business off of it is using rhinestones, but not just using a material that you can apply and make rhinestone stickers with, or rhinestone decals. And they're doing motorcycles, but entire motorcycles with it. But they're charging upwards of $10,000 to $15,000 to do, and not even the entire thing, just different parts of these motorcycles and helmets and different things. That it's something different, it's something unique, and there's a market out there for it. And obviously they found that it's a niche market, but they found that market. And when you're getting $10,000-$15,000 per job, then obviously it's worth it.
So I have to chime in there, because there's one that I've seen, and going to my sublimation roots here, I've seen people that have vacuum pressed prosthetics to give them very cool, unique looks, that look like an alien leg or something like that. So just thought that was a really unique way to personalize something that, pretty negative, and you can make it personal and make it fun for somebody. So I thought that was cool.
We did have a guest on our show last year who rhinestoned the entire interior
Kelly.
of an elevator, and that we thought that was fairly unique.
Wow.
Yeah, very nice. All right. So question from here, Matt, and you guys can all answer this, but do you wash your garments before decorating them?
No.
Easy enough.
Nope.
No, but I'll give a longer response.
Thank you, Jenna.
So you wouldn't want the garment to essentially be used. You want to sell it as new, so you're not devaluing that. So you want to make sure you are obviously doing testing with your first one, which you can put it through a wash cycle and see how it washes, but always make sure you're giving the new garment to your customer.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great answers there. Okay.
I think where sometimes people have success with pre-washing shirts is on cotton, and specifically 100% cotton or hoodies, things of that nature. And it's not the washing that interests me, it's the drying, pre-drying it. And really, to me, what pre-drying is pre-shrinking it. That can still be achieved with a heat press. So you can still pre-shrink your shirt, your cotton shirt or your hoodie. You can still get the moisture out without going through a full wash cycle and keeping that new look.
All right. Any more questions from the audience? Nothing yet? Okay. Here's the next one from online here. Is Flock making a comeback?
I heard
Jenna says yes.
I heard Flock was big in the 80s. I was born in 88 to determine my age, but it was a little predetermined my time. I wasn't around, so I don't know. But in regards,
I was, and it was really big.
Okay, so to support that, yes, Flock is then making a comeback, because I'm seeing it a lot. I'm wearing Flock on my shirt today, right? I think it gives it can be used in many unique applications, hats, corporate looks, and things of that nature.
Similar, it just adds dimension to it. But we just did for my daughter's gymnastics for the cheer. They love like the little shorts where they put the words on the butt in Flock, and there's just it's a completely different look than your standard screen print, than your standard heat transfer vinyls. That kind of has that feel, has that touch to it. That's something different, and it stands out.
So I see it not only trending to be utilized in like graphic t-shirts and being able to add texture and dimension, but also for customers that want to mimic the look of embroidery because it has a fabric-like feel and it's dimension enough for it to really pop off the garment. If they are just not wanting to thread on a specific item because it's too hard to hoop, they'll opt out for flock because it gives that really premium look and effect where you can still charge for the price of embroidery, but it's not going to be, it's a little more cost effective and it's definitely easier to turn around. It's a lot quicker at that point too. And to speak back to what Brett said about it being an 80s trend, we're starting to see retro styles start to be reincorporated in graphic apparel, whether it be a drop shadow and using neon finishes, but flock is one of those that is hitting into that trend very well.
Hypercolor.
I still have some of those shirts. So
I just with hypercolor came to mind for some reason. You know, the when like you could basically tell when you were sweating. It was really gross. That's hopefully that doesn't trend back in. Real quick on the flock thing though, and do you guys see some like practical reasons to use flock too? I mean, like in sports arenas and things like that. I know I've heard some people say, like in the volleyball world, that the flock numbers are better than traditional vinyl because they move across the floor better.
Yeah. In my experience, I have decorated a handful of basketball shoes with flock, and I used a standard heat transfer vinyl as the background and flock as the foreground. And it created a very unique look that seems to attract a lot of people. I also think flock is very practical for items that have a high nap, such as like a Columbia jacket or a North Face jacket, things of that nature. Standard vinyls or thinner vinyls will kind of rest on those fibers and it'll look kind of wavy. Well, flock is thick enough that it's going to keep its integrity look and give you kind of like that fake embroidery look.
And what Aaron just said, I hadn't heard of that before, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
For volleyball, you're saying I mean, they're on the floor, and instead of it being a larger screen print or heat transfer vinyl for them to be able to slide easier.
Yeah. There's actually a reason why I wear a goatee, because I have a scar right here from that very thing happening. Yeah. It was not very graceful diving and stuck.
No,
to
that
the
makes
floor
sense.
and-
I've never heard of that before. That's cool.
I'd actually heard in Europe at one point that there was some rule that they were going to implement with those kinds of sports to save the injury. So I just wondered if you guys had heard anything about any of that.
Bottoms of socks.
Bottoms of socks.
That's a thing. If you go on Etsy, like they're just putting like custom sayings like "bring me wine" and stuff like that. So
Okay, you just sublimate that, right? Yeah. Cool.
Same.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, any more questions out here, Terry? What you got? And I'll see if we've got some more online.
well, let's see. We talked about some unique features. But what do you see coming down the road? What do you think is going to be the hot new item next year?
Get the crystal ball for this. And
So we talked a lot about dimension in designs earlier, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon, specifically in headwear. From the debossed and embossing of logos and the silicone and brick textures, and now leather patches. All right, so they've been trending before. That's not new to us, but we're starting to see really nice effects, whether you're laser etching the leather or you're just ordering it already customized. Being able to implement that in some of the accessories like caps, it's game changing. Like it's growing so much, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. We're seeing really high end brands do it, like Carhartt, and we're used to seeing it as the patch on the back of jeans, but we're seeing it being incorporated more and more leather patches, and I think that that's going to be really big this year, and it's going to continue to grow.
Very interesting.
I agree. The main thing I think, and it's going to stay the way it is or get even bigger, is just any type of dimension. Any type of dimension on a hat, like I had never done this before, and I was just playing around using the embroidery machine the other day, and I did a 3D puff design that I did on a hat on a left chest just to see what it looked like. And it looked freaking cool. Like, I loved the look of it. But just seeing any type of dimension, like Jenna was saying, with the patches, with the leathers, with the brick, with anything like that, it's been taking off, and I honestly think it's going to continue growing over the next few years.
You know, Matt, when you say I just wanted to see what it looks like, that's what everybody should be doing all the time. You know, experiment, do new things all the time, and you might come up with that, as you were saying, the new trend.
And that's what I always did when I was growing my business as well. When I was doing the finished product side, I invested in mistakes. Like, my goal, if I screwed up 100 times, but then the 101st time I figured it out, or the 10th time I figured it out, and my goal was to always do something different. I loved it when people copied what I did, because they're just sitting on my coattails, following me and wanting to do what I do. Like, take it as a compliment if someone tries to steal your idea, because that means you're coming up with something new. You're coming up with something inventive that people like, and obviously get your sales on it and get it out there and do something different than everybody else. But you're going to have to make mistakes to do that. That's the hard thing. Like, I broke out an embroidery machine that I hadn't touched in 8 years, just so I can start making videos on it again, to try and help people with the multimedia side of it, and how you can accent embroidery with rhinestones and the heat transfer vinyls and everything else. And I went through $300 worth of hats in a freaking week, just ruining them. But now I've gotten better at it, and now I'm able to do different things and try different things and test stuff. Test it, make mistakes, and mistakes are good as long as you learn from them.
I think it's fair to say that glitter HTV, rhinestones, or anything bling are a pretty hot trend right now and have been for a while. I don't see that going away anytime soon. We do our best to listen to the market and our customers' responses. And we have developed 2 different series of smooth glitters. One's going to be called Twinkle, and one will be called Sparkle. So a little bit different than the traditional glitter flake. That's a little bit heavier. We've heard different complaints as far as some people, these smooth glitters are going to be stretchy. So they're going to help in stretchable applications. They will not pill a cotton. Pilling, meaning when it gets laundered and you get those small little balls on your shirt, right? That happens quite frequently. And we've actually had this request, ironically enough, from cheerleaders. The men, depending on where this glitter is, it can be abrasive when they're lifting the girls up and throwing them, right? So the smooth glitter should still provide a similar look, but a different feel.
Nice. And what were the name of those 2 new glitters again?
Twinkle and Sparkle.
We're gonna have to talk to your IP. Terry and I were thinking of changing our name to that.
Okay, all right. We can do it like the Fruit of the Loom guys. We'll dress you up and you can walk around the show and do the podcast.
A lot of glitter.
Nice. All right. Next question here. Are there any products that are no-nos or digital heat transfer or things like that? Products that you want to stay away from?
Substrate wise or heat transfer vinyl wise? Sorry, you kind of cut out there.
Sorry about that. So let me just reread it, make sure I got it right here. Any products a no-no for heat transfer vinyl? So yeah, I guess substrate wise.
Okay, so substrate wise, I would certainly be careful with anything coated because adhesive likes to just fall off of that right away. There are some workarounds that you can utilize, such as denatured alcohol. If there's a certain area of a garment that you want to use your heat press with, but you know there's a coating there, you can use that denatured alcohol to remove the coating. It's not going to devalue the product in any way because that coating ends up coming off in 4 to 5 washes anyway. So that coating gets removed at some point. But of course, like we mentioned earlier, you don't want to wash the garment before you sell it. So anything coated, and then be careful with your nylons. There are products made specifically for printing on nylon. So just make sure you're keeping an eye out for those because those adhesives work best for those products.
I was going to say something similar. Just look at your instructions on the material that you're using, because there's different types of materials for different type of products. Another example, I'm giving you guys all the examples of different things that happen to us. This is another example of one of those. We wanted to save some money. We didn't want to get a specific type of vinyl that was made for a coated polyester. We did football uniforms. So they were Nike football uniforms. We did white ones. We did red ones. We just placed basic heat transfer vinyl on both of them. They played their first weekend of games. They wore the white ones. They were absolutely perfect. They loved them. They went to a game the next week, an away game. And by the end of the game, almost every player that was playing in the game, their names were off it. Their numbers were off it. Every time they were getting tackled, the numbers were just literally coming off using the exact same material. Well, we came to find out that the red Nike jerseys had a coating on it. So we didn't use the right heat transfer vinyl for that. The only good thing about it, I guess, looking back, is I learned from it. But the good thing about it, it was coming off so easily. All we had to do was wash the uniforms real quick and all of the vinyl was off. And then we didn't have to repurchase all of these expensive Nike uniforms. We just got the right material to press on it. So, and there's different tests and water tests that you can do to try and help and see if there is coating on the material. If it bubbles up and beads up like you're waxing a car, then hey, there's a coating on that and so on. But again, spend a little bit extra on the right materials, because then you're not going to be spending all of the extra. And don't just think about the cost of the materials or the cost of the garments that you're purchasing. More importantly, it's the time involved in it, right? All of your labor costs that's involved in redoing all of those and fixing them all.
This is a very, very challenging question. It would be much easier on any other technology, right? Because heat transfer vinyl, or HTV as we commonly call it, is the most versatile, right? It's hard to say there's a no for it. Well, one thing that comes to my mind, and it's kind of a gray area, is layering glitter. Chemically speaking, it does work, but the current glitter flakes in the market are rough, right? So there's abrasive. When you layer glitter on top of glitter, there's always going to be a microscopic gap in between those layers. And when it's getting laundered, it's prone to fall apart. Now, if you're decorating something like a hat or a bag that's not going to be laundered, you can throw all those, you can layer glitter, right? It's not going to just fall off by itself. Even if you do layer glitter on a shirt, there's a high success rate, right? But like Matt said, it's not the 8 out of 10 times it performs does not outweigh the 2 out of 10 times you've got to replace something because it fell off. And it's not so much replacing the shirts and the jerseys. You've ruined your reputation, right? A lot of people get business word of mouth, right? So if my company fails, that company is going to tell everybody else not to do business with me. So taking a little bit of extra time, changing your artwork to do a knockout or a trapping method is definitely going to save you for the future.
Excellent. Okay, good.
We have
Terry,
any more questions from online?
There's a few I'll try to pick out of there, but you got anything else that's burning in your mind? And do you guys have anything else that's come up along the way here? Jerry, thank you.
All right. We have a question from the audience.
No, you don't.
A lot about sublimate vinyl. Is that still popular, or did it actually work on cotton shirts?
Did you guys get that? Sublimating on glitter vinyl, is that still hot and trending? I think we've covered
Absolutely. Full color vinyl is big. There's even some products out there that are solvent printing on vinyl. We know sublimation is usually a more affordable investment. So we see a lot of people doing sublimation on glitter as well. I'll let others comment on this as well. So I'm sure you guys can touch on a couple of things I won't. I stick to white and rainbow white colors.
Okay.
However, other colors do work. You just have to recognize that you should expect some color shift if you try to sublimate on a neon orange or a glitter that's not a white base.
What I've noticed with that is, like Brett's saying, with those white glitters, you're going to get a more vibrant look. You're going to get somewhat more of a better chance at a color match if you're doing something for a school. If you're doing something, just a really cool, unique design that can, if the color changes a little bit, if the shading's a little bit different, you can get away with it, that's fine. But where I see the most success is on those white glitters, so you can get those colors to at least somewhat match if you're trying to do, because you see it a lot with the cheer, with the gymnastics, with the high schools, stuff like that.
So from my experience with sublimating on glitter flake, it's certainly been quite a process. Getting the glitter off of the carrier, making sure I'm contour cutting accurately so that I have the right dimensions for what I'm actually sublimating on it. And because this can be such a tedious process for sublimation on glitter, like Brett said, there have been other solutions. So eco-solvent printing on a printable media that fills and looks just like glitter flake, but you're able to get those bright, vibrant colors. And then also just ordering it as a transfer, just sending your artwork in and getting it ready to heat apply so that you don't have to go through all those other steps, or like Brett mentioned, the upfront investment of an eco-solvent printer.
Wonderful. Okay. So I'm going to change gears on you guys again here then, because that's what I like to do. But so had a great day here at DAX so far. We're winding down towards the end. What's been the number one question you've had to answer so far in your booth?
What do you do?
What do you do? Okay. So Jenna, what do you do?
So really anything, honestly, we're really big on hands-on and getting involved with the product. So for the most part in my area that I'm working, everybody wants to know about the vinyl cutter and what's the thickest product I can cut on a Roland GS24.
And the answer to that is?
You can do anything 450 grams.
There you go. Thank you. Sorry.
And then a lot of the hands-on that we're doing with our fusion is a mixed media patterns and glitter. So we're getting questions on those products. And everyone wants to see the flex style and the leather patches, because those are the dimensional products that we were mentioning that were trending so much in the industry. So
Sure.
a lot of demos of that as well.
Cool.
Similar type thing. What we try to do in our booth is have a cutter, have a heat press, have all these different materials, because it's a lot easier to show the question and show them how to do it versus we have Stalls does, Caesar does, we do videos galore. You'll never be able to watch all the videos that the three of us have up probably in your lifetime. But the thing is when you're at a trade show and you say, okay, how do you do this? How does this cut? How do you press this? When you can do it right there with them and they can follow along and they can actually, you guys can actually do it right there at the booth, or how do the rhinestones brush? That's the question we get the most, is everybody that has no clue and they come up and they want to do a rhinestone shirt. There is no damn way I'm going to grab a tweezer and do every single one of those stones one by one.
That's not how you do
and
it.
that's
Oh,
how
wow.
everybody just assumes that you do it. And then I always like to play around with them, and I'll grab a pair of tweezers and start putting them each hole, and they'll start to walk away. And then when I show them the actual process and how it works and how I can put 1,500 stones into a template and be on a shirt in a minute or two, then it obviously is like, oh, okay, now that I see that process, now this could make sense. Because what I noticed that I never did it either, that the biggest thing that I see that people have issues with is calculating their time. Everybody's always focused on how much do I have in material cost? How much is my shirt cost? And then, well, how much is your labor cost? How much is your overhead cost? And I didn't do that off the start either. Like they realize, oh man, well, this costs a little bit more. Yeah, but it decreases your production time by 15 minutes because you're not having to do these extra 8 steps. So it's honestly a lot less expensive to pay more for this material versus doing it this way. And that's, I think, the hardest thing to explain to people. But then it's pretty cool when you do it in the booth or you do it in a class and you kind of see that light switch and they're like, that makes sense now. Okay, now, hey, I'm making an extra $2 on this shirt because it's only taking me 5 minutes to make it versus 20 minutes to make it the way I was doing it.
Yeah, I think there's visual learners and then there's hands-on learners. And I'm certainly a hands-on learner myself. So I admire everybody here at the show that's trying to get more hands-on experience. We can sit here and watch a million. YouTube and social media are fantastic. But I'm very much a see it to believe it type of guy, right? When you have human interaction and you can ask questions at a show or a workshop or anything of that nature, I think it's very, very beneficial. I think that's when you retain information, right? You can watch something, you can watch something, read something, but until you actually do it, is when it retains and it clicks forever. So to piggyback a little bit, something we talked about earlier in the show was our unique product, Easy Subly. It's new to the industry. There are a lot of questions about how to use it, what is it, things of that nature. We have plenty of content on the web. We have plenty of content on our social media, Facebook, app. That's not good enough. You know, people want the hands-on experience and coming to a show. So if you haven't been to a show, anybody watching the show, I highly, highly recommend it. Get that hands-on experience. A lot of ideas you may have, or a lot of things, it's easier than it seems. And once you get your hands dirty and talk to people, you'll understand that, wow, it's not as difficult as maybe I once thought it was.
Brett, I think you almost said not everything on the internet's true. Were you about to say that?
A little bit, yeah.
All right.
Just a quick question about that, because Matt, you had mentioned, you said I wouldn't have my business today if it wasn't for social media. How can these folks use social media to be successful with their businesses?
What I always try to explain to everybody is you could go, if I gave you $1 million shopping spree and you went and bought all the best pieces of equipment in here, you bought a $20,000 embroidery machine, a $20,000 DTG, and anything, and you had every piece of equipment possible, every single one of those pieces of equipment are worthless to you if you don't have a customer base, if you don't have customers that are actually purchasing something from you, right? So of you guys out here that are saying, how many of you on a regular daily basis are posting onto your social media? Like literally every single day. Raise your hand if you're doing it every single. It's completely free, okay? And early on in your business, the one thing you have is time. You have time to do it. I'm going to assume nobody out there, okay, just something new, and my crew knows that I've been pushing this for the last 2 months. How many of you out there have a TikTok account? And you're going to laugh and say that's for 12-year-olds, right? A few of you do, okay? It's insane right now. The organic reach on TikTok right now is absolutely insane. And when you go on TikTok, you're going to see a bunch of kids dancing, all right? And then you'll go down the rabbit hole and you'll be watching funny stuff for hours. But I created a TikTok account, I think 2 months ago. I think we're already over 18,000 followers. I have one video that I made that has over 700,000 views on it. We have a customer that listened to what I was saying and to create it and just make some stuff and put it out there. They've posted 4 videos total on TikTok. They just had one that in the last 6 days, they have over 450,000 views on it. Do you think they're gaining customers? If you don't have the attention of people, you don't have customers, okay? That's how you're going to build your customer base. And the one thing I always try to stress on the social media side of it, if you go on to my Instagram account right now or my TikTok account or any of them, you aren't going to see me trying to sell you anything. It's going to be me creating an awesome looking shirt that's going to get your attention, or a decal, or something that's going to grab your attention. And then you'll see the way that I do it. People will start commenting. They'll say, where do I get that blue material from? The Magic Flock template material. Where do I get that from? So, oh, you can get it right here. And I post a link. Same thing for you guys. When you're selling a shirt, where do I get that shirt from? Oh, you can get it right here on my website. Look, and I do different tests on my different social media accounts. If you go on my Instagram account and look at different things, you'll see some things that have 15, 20,000 views, and then you'll see another thing that has 500 views. You know what that 500 view one is? It's a sale that we have going on the website. Everybody just flips right by that. I have a Facebook video probably about 3 weeks ago that just went nuts. I took an old video that I did as far as showing you how to layer sign vinyl without registration marks. So it was a 4-color design, doing it without registration marks. It was a little trick. I called it a sign vinyl hack. I looked yesterday, it has over 10 million views now. And what happened with that is on that, I said, started commenting on every single one. Yeah, check out our full tutorials here, here, here. Just in that one day, we went up over 3,000 YouTube subscribers as well. We went up over 4,000 Instagram subscribers. So Libby and Bill, who aren't here, but they did that with the TikTok. It's just a matter of, hey, once you get a video that does something like that and you have their attention, now how do you capitalize on that attention as well? That's the most difficult thing. But don't just go straight into sell mode, because then they're gone. Okay, if you can get their attention and make, like Jenna and Brett have been saying, like this. I did a video on this just showing a tone-on-tone shirt. I'm not even trying to sell finished products, but I did that just to show my customers. And most of the comments were, can you do that with my logo? Can you make a shirt for me? Can you do this? And I don't do the finished product side of it anymore. But the whole reason I do that is to show you guys, it's not just us who can create YouTube channels to gain customers. That's how I gained my customer base when I was the decal world. And everybody's like, well, I don't want to show all of my competitors how to make these shirts. Hate to break it to you, but we're showing all your competitors how to make these shirts. So what's the difference if you do it? If you build customers, if you create a YouTube channel and you get 5 views on it, guess what? That's 5 more potential customers than you would have had you not done that. And who knows, it starts to take off. The only thing it can do is help you. But you need to be consistent with it, posting daily, and not just post, hey, buy this shirt, buy this hat, and so on.
So what he said, but I will say, just kind of to speak to the selling on social media, it's just unappealing. Like, take the indirect marketing approach where you're showing them how you created it, because that's going to sell itself. I can say, as a person who's been sold to through social media, particularly, it's most of the time somebody that I went to high school with who is like a part of a pyramid scheme now, and they want me to buy a product, right?
So what is your essential oil?
I ignore them. Like, you can't approach it that way. Do the indirect marketing approach. It's going to sell itself. Just post photos of what you're creating. And before you know it, you'll start getting comments like, hey, can you do my logo on a t-shirt like that? Things like that.
I mean, look at us today. What are we doing right now? Facebook Live, we're streaming, right? It's a proven and effective marketing tool. And like Matt said, it's free. Don't be afraid to go outside of your limits. Facebook is probably the most popular. It's what everybody knows. Don't be afraid to go outside of your limits and do TikTok or Instagram or other new methods that are trending, because the generation coming up are very in tune to that. And they're very into customization, and things of that nature, right? So don't be afraid to keep up with technology and new platforms. The earlier you jump on one, the better of the advantage you will have, right? So TikTok, this is a platform that I'm not very aware of, and I admire Matt for taking, I don't want to say a risk, because it's free, right? But if you jump on that platform before it blows up, you've got a competitive advantage over everybody else.
You know, I've had people say to me, well, nobody wants to see me print a shirt. Nobody wants to see me heat press a shirt. They absolutely do. If you've ever had anybody walk into your shop and they go right around the counter and they go back to where you're decorating because they want to see that process. There's a decorator with All Made Apparel. When she started her business, Mel Lay, you guys may know her, with Sandy Lake Apparel. She started her business in her garage, filming herself printing at midnight, saying, okay, the kids are in bed, I'm printing this design, what do you think? And her business boomed from that, just by going on that journey with her, starting a business in her garage.
And on that note, one of the very first videos, believe me, how many of you here have a YouTube channel and have actually posted videos on it? Not just created a YouTube channel, right? 2 of us. So the thing is the very first video, I was absolutely terrified of being I was a high school teacher. I was terrified to stand in front of my students, but I was terrified to be in front of a camera. I still have some of my old videos up when it was the decal world, and you won't see me at all. You wouldn't even hear me. There's some weird music playing in the background, and all it is text going up there. But the cool thing about it, and I didn't even realize this, is what started happening was I would charge $35 for a shirt. Everybody's complaining about it. Oh, that's too expensive. Then they would see the video, and I would send them a video of me making their shirt. Well, two things happened. Number one, they're like, wow, I didn't realize so much went into making a custom shirt. They aren't complaining about that $35 price anymore because they see what's involved in it. Number two, that was the coolest thing that happened, is they started sharing it with all of their friends. So now, hey, check out this shirt that this place made for me. And then it gets shared and there. And then again, like I said, whether you have 5 people see your video or 5 million people see your video, 5's better than what you have right now. Okay. It can't hurt you. And do me a favor though, because I talk about this all the time as well. Don't go create a YouTube channel and try to be a YouTuber. All right. Because that's something yes, you can make a lot of money on YouTube if you get the following and I'm honest with mine. I had absolutely zero intention of ever making a penny on YouTube because you know what I was making? I was making customers. I was growing my customer base. But then, I've had my YouTube channel for 12 years now. Well, what started to happen is I found out and people started saying, you can monetize your videos. I'm like, monetize my videos? What is that? So that little ad that pops up in front of our videos, that's probably one of these other places because they're smart, right? But just to let you know, and this is pretty crazy for me, and this is the part that is absolutely insane. It's completely free for you guys to do this, right? It's completely free for me to do this. Now, it's been 12 years of work, but YouTube pays my business to gain customers. How does that make sense? And when I say they pay me, because we have a pretty good following now and views and everything else, they pay me pretty good. So right now, as of when I checked yesterday, because I was doing a social media thing yesterday, can you guess what YouTube's going to pay me this year? What would be your guess that I'm going to make from YouTube to gain? I would do, if they stopped that tomorrow, I would still create just as many videos because it's building my business. It's gaining customers. What do you think they're going to pay me this year? Brett said 10,000. So right now, last night it was there. I should be right around $84,000 for them that I'm making on ads for me to gain customers. That doesn't make any sense. I'm happy, but it doesn't make any sense.
We'll take that off your hands if you don't want it.
And that's the thing. The reason why I say that is don't go build a YouTube channel to make money on YouTube. Go build a YouTube channel to make money for your business and to gain customers, right? And then if it starts building and growing, eventually someday, believe me, I remember the first day that I monetized my videos and I made money on YouTube. It was my 7th year into my YouTube channel and I made 14 cents and I was ecstatic. Like, wow, this is pretty cool. I can get like 1/100th of a Starbucks coffee. But again, please, every one of you have the exact same reach as any business, whether you live in a town with 300 people or New York City. You can reach just as many people as anybody else. You just got to put in the work and get out. It's all completely free. You don't even need money to do it. That's the crazy thing about it. But if you don't do it, or if you do it, this is what happens all the time. I'll talk to people and they'll create a YouTube channel. They'll make 2 videos and they'll have 4 views on it and they quit.
Yeah. Okay.
To comment on that, I don't think anybody in this room would run away from that income. So I've known Matt for a long time, and I'll spill one of his secrets to success. So maybe we're all there. Don't be afraid to incentivize people to drive traffic to your website or social media page. Right?
Yep.
Everybody loves free stuff. if we put free beer and free wings out here, you might as well shut the show down because you guys aren't going to watch us anymore, right? You're going to go get the beer and wings, right? Don't be afraid to give away something. If you've got to eat $50, $100, $200 as a prize, you would be, maybe the requirements are you must like and share my page to get entered into this drawing. I know Rafflecopter is one of the platforms that can kind of pick a random selection. I'm sure, Matt, everybody's got their own ways. I know Matt, he would have fun with it. In his early days, he would have his team scrolling up and down and they'd shoot a Nerf gun, right? And whatever name that bullet landed on was who the grand prize winner was, right? So when people are liking and sharing, that's when your company can go viral, right? So if you've got to eat $200 to get exposure to 1,000 customers, it's worth it. Absolutely.
And on the Nerf gun thing, just to let you guys know, we stopped that because someone said we were promoting violence.
Okay. Well, hey, you got to, Jenna, anything else that you guys are doing outside of that you want to add there?
Yeah. So when it comes to video, you have to look at it and from the standpoint too that the people on the outside have no idea what this industry can actually do. So you giving them a piece of that, it's just really cool for them to watch. Like when I first got started in the industry, I had no idea the amount of technology and just unique stuff that you could create. My first show was mind-blowing. So giving them a small piece of what you do to create the things that you're making for them, like they love that. They'll eat it up. They love watching those videos and seeing these things that you're able to do and make for them. They like seeing that process. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there in social media more. It is most certainly the most nerve-wracking thing when you're first getting started. My first video, I sounded like I was crying the entire time. I was so nervous. But once you get used to it and presenting in front of a camera, or you don't even have to be in front of the camera, just show hands-on how you're making something. Once they see that and it gets shares, the more customers that you'll receive. It's certainly a payoff.
Okay. All right. Well, we're doing really good here, and we're getting down towards the end of our time. But another question from online here, and we're going to go back to some technical stuff. Do you ever decorate on customer shirts or retail bought shirts? And any tips around doing that? Like if you're a customer supplied garment, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
How many of you do? Do you love it when customers bring in their own shirts? Most of you are going to shake your head no. I freaking hated it. It was miserable, right? And then the smarter and smarter I feel like I got, that was my favorite thing. We had a storefront, and we used to love it when they would bring, because I used to stock all these shirts, and then I would be at $160. So I got to buy $40 more in shirts so I can get free shipping. And then at the end of the year, I have 700 extra shirts, right? We all have been there. When they bring in their own garment, the biggest thing I always did was I would have them sign the form, say, hey, we make mistakes. If we make a mistake on your shirt, because what will start happening is they're going to bring in a $150 Lululemon shirt, and they're going to bring in this $200 jacket. And if they brought me in an Under Armour shirt and I made a mistake on it, I say, you know what? I will replace it with a white collared shirt that we have in stock. And it's an Augusta shirt or whatever it is. But I always felt like, and it always worked for me, if I was upfront with them and honest with them off the start. And I would also tell them, hey, if I make a mistake on this, you can go get me another one. I'll do it for free. Like, I don't have a problem with that. I'm not trying to rip you off, but I loved not having to stock all of these different products, because no matter what styles you get, especially when we had our storefront, everybody would buy, let's say back in the day, it was this Next Level Burnout shirt. Everybody loved that. Most popular shirt ever. And everybody was getting larges and extra larges. So I bought a boatload of larges and extra larges, and all those people disappeared in the world. Now everybody wanted smalls and double X's. Or they didn't want the burnouts anymore and they switched to this. And I got 400 of these shirts in stock. So I preferred that. So, and the thing that I noticed that people do is they'll put too much of their price into their blank garment. What does it take you, 5 minutes to go on Samar or wherever and order shirts? Well, if you put too much cost, all of your cost is in the labor cost, is in the material cost. So it might be a $35 shirt, but for me to make it a transfer of it, let's say with rhinestones and glitter, that transfer might be a $30 transfer. And then I would upcharge the shirt. Maybe it's a $3 shirt. I would charge them $4 for the shirt, $5, because I wanted them to bring in their own shirt if I could. And now I'm still making my margins on it. So that's the key that I found out that worked for me is I loved it. I would be upfront with them. I would be on. And back then, you didn't have this cool vinyl remover like you have now that can fix a lot of your mistakes. Like if we made a mistake and then you're so scared, it takes you an extra 20 minutes to press it because you're scared you're going to mess it up, or you check the spelling 42 times because you think you spelt it wrong. So as long as you're honest with them, it worked for me that way. And hey, bring in your own garments, bring in your favorite fit, your favorite shirt, whatever you want, and I can throw this. And that's how we did our storefront. Everybody would bring in their own shirts. We would just press it to their shirt or whatever they were doing.
Terry and Aaron, I probably should have got a better idea of your audience on your Facebook Live before answering this question, but I'm hopefully everybody in this room and everybody on Facebook Live watching are decorators or inspiring decorators and not people buying finished shirts, right? Okay, so hypothetically speaking, or if I'm speaking in the third person as I'm a business owner, absolutely not. I do not allow third party or customer supply shirts. It's why? Because I make money on the shirts that I decorate, right? I am a business. I have a tax ID. I get wholesale pricing on the shirts that I buy from my supplier. When I get wholesale pricing, I charge retail pricing on top of the decorated price, right? So when you have that ability, when you take away that ability, I should say, and you have a customer supplied shirt, that cuts into your profit and that cuts into your margin. So you better make sure you upcharge for the decorating to make up for the loss in profit of the blank garment you would have had.
Okay.
So agree with both statements because you're always going to have those customers that come in and want something right away.
Yeah.
So those one-offs make sense because
Sure.
I'm not going to want to keep inventory. However, if it's going to be a large job, that's definitely when I want that wholesale pricing, and I don't want to have to worry about a customer supplying me with that because honestly, I would be afraid if they were going to give me something that I could not press on, or I know I would ruin because I don't have the right technology to fulfill that order.
Sure.
So
sure.
I think both can work for depending on the customer that is coming into the equation.
Find what's right for. That's awesome. All right, guys. Any questions? Any last questions? Because I've got one more question for you guys. Thank you guys so much for your time. Fantastic. We're so blessed to have these wonderful experts. So real quick round of applause for our experts here, please. Thank you very much. All right. Not you, Terry. Sorry. You've got a microphone in your hand. Good grief. All right. So Jenna, start us off. And I want each of you guys to answer this for me. Of the products you sell, what's your favorite product and why?
Stretch Litho Matte. It is a water-based ink that I can get full color on and not have to pay per color. And it feels absolutely amazing on any substrate you can apply to, excluding nylon. It feels like a water-based ink, but I'm getting as many colors in that image as I want.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I would say the Bling Anything material, because it allows you to make not only rhinestone decals that a lot of people haven't seen still, but what we've been doing the last few years is applying your glitter heat transfer vinyls, the exact same material you're using on your shirts, turning those into glitter stickers that they can use on their cell phone cases, on their computer laptops, onto mugs where you don't need a mug press and you can do a rhinestone or glitter design onto a mug or a tumbler, a Yeti that's also dishwasher safe. So being something different that's unique and obviously something new to offer to your customer base.
Easy Weed Stretch HTV would be my favorite product. It's an ultra matte HTV, super thin, super stretchable HTV. Maybe one of the mistakes we made historically was calling it Easy Weed Stretch because people think it only works on stretchy fabrics. It works on standard cotton, standard polyester, and your normal garments. So the easy answer would have been Easy Weed because that's one of the most popular products, right? But for personal use, I use Stretch, and I admire everybody that hasn't used it to give it a try.
Excellent. Okay, so from there, take a moment. I know you're here, actually, Brett, supporting some of your resellers.
Yes.
But go ahead and give them a shout out to people where they can find out more about Caesar.
Yeah, Caesar North America. You can find out about us at CaesarNA.com. We do have a free app with plenty of content. We've got a YouTube channel. We've got a Decorate magazine that gives you more of a hands-on reading. We are here at the Decorated Apparel Expo in Kansas City, representing a few of our sellers. Shout out to the sellers as well, which would be Graphic Solutions Group, GSG, Central Sign Supplies out of Omaha, Nebraska, and U.S. Cutter, who has a branch in Memphis or Redmond, Washington.
And the Rhinestone World.
He figured you'd cover it yourself.
No shout out. That's cool. Talk about that later. Booth 301 here, the Rhinestone World. Any of you that are here, if you have any questions on the social media side of it as well, or if I can literally in 2 minutes show you how to create a TikTok for your business. I did a Ask Matt on it a couple. So, and again, any of you here on the live or here as well, what I always try to do is I try to share all of my knowledge, all the mistakes and all the things that worked for our business as we grew it when we did the finished product side. So check out our YouTube channel, The Rhinestone World. I'm in the middle of doing another Ask Matt series. I do 100 days in a row of questions from you guys. You guys comment on the YouTube videos. I pick one of those questions and I answer it to try and help all of you guys. So tonight, I'll do another one here. It's number 25. We got 75 more to go. So hopefully those help you guys out.
If you were selling Stahl's product, I would have given you a shout out. So Stahl's. Sorry, Brett. We sell direct, so you can find Stahl's at any of the industry trade shows. We're here at the DAX show. DAX is one of our favorite shows to attend. We have such a great audience and customer base at these shows, but any industry trade show. And we do a ton of education. So you can see us in the seminar rooms, on YouTube. And yeah, stalls.com is where you can get all our stuff. We sell direct.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you guys so much. This is what I love about our industry is three very unique people. And at the end of the day, you know, they can be competitors, but they're here to help. They're here to give you guys knowledge. So one more round of applause for them, please. Thank you very much. Awesome. All right. Any last comments before we let you guys get out of here?
Thank you guys so much online for commenting and questions. And thank you so much for having me on the panel. It was a lot of fun.
All right.
Message me when you create your YouTube channel and I'll give you a shout out. I'll get you some subscribers right away. I'm telling you, it'll help your business.
Really quickly, one of the questions I first get asked is people new to this industry say, do I start with direct to garment, screen printing, heat transfer, vinyl? What's better? Everybody thinks there's a black and white answer, sublimation, whatever it may be, right? Screen print transfers. There is not a right answer. It depending on what you are trying to do. Not one technology is better than the other, right? So find that customer base. Don't let anybody persuade you that one thing is terrible and the other one's not, because they're all here for a reason and they're all here to stay. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Well, we are the Two Regular Guys, the number 2 regularguys.com. Every Friday at 11 o'clock Eastern time, we have a show with guests like these guys right here, and 8 years in the making every Friday. So we'd love to have you guys check us out. Tomorrow, we're going to have another panel, screen printing and embroidery at 1 o'clock, I believe. And we'd love to see you guys here for that as well. Thank you very much.